So what do you got here, fam?
This is about Cuba. Because
Yeah.
that's all yeah. So do you have anything about Brazil you want to bring up first?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the election. I don't have any videos, whatnot.
Okay.
It's been disturbing, right? Yeah, because, and I've said this before, the team sports aspect of this sometimes gets me crazy. It does. If you haven't seen yesterday too, and it's great. Terry Matson did her first stream on the Convo Couch. WTF is on Thursdays now. We'll be streaming on the Convo Couch YouTube. It's got about 1,400 views. It's awesome because she's never got that type of traffic. A lot of live viewers. And she interviewed a guy named Michael Fox. So Michael Fox has done some work down in Brazil, and some amazing work, some great information. All about, pretty much Bolsonaro's policies, because I'm trying to understand what the allure of Bolsonaro is, right? Obviously, we've seen some situations, fam. We had some people on the sides of the streets yesterday giving some Nazi salutes.
Here, I'll put it in the folder so people can see.
We'll get that up. There is
There it is.
It's in the bottom of the doc. Is it there? Okay. There's a racial, the one in green. Got it. There is a racist element of sorts that is definitely evident. I think, fam, was your belief. I'll bring it up. You tell me what you think real quick as I bring it up. Give your opinion. I don't want to talk for you.
It's I verified this as well with multiple people, because what happened was people were saying, "Oh no, this is just Brazil's salute," and it's not. It's not. By Brazilian standards, this would be a Nazi salute. Now, of course, is this every single Bolsonaro person? No, it's not. It's not. It's
Good.
not.
Thank you for saying
it. Well, duh. I mean, it's not. But still, the fact that this is something that people have been saying, people that, have covered Brazil, that have lived in Brazil at least like a month or so, and, and said, hey, yeah, this is an election that has that element. It can't be ignored. And I think, even CNN has actually covered this, which, I mean, it's not surprising because it kind of works to their favor at this point. But this, I mean, there's no justifying that. I mean, that's a lot of people. It's not like one Nazi flag at the Canadian truckers, which we don't even know how that got there. It was very suspect, some random guy. It's literally like a lot of people, okay? And obviously people get emotional about this, but the greater point is this really, it's kind of interesting because I saw a lot of people that are really on board against my point that I want to make is against the fascism in Ukraine, and they point out the Azov stuff, right? They're like, the Azov battalion is fascist, blah blah blah. Some of these people see this and they're like, oh well, no, that's blah blah blah. But Lula is a Soros, Bolsonaro is a Soros puppet of Klaus Schwab. It's like, so you're gonna okay this just because it doesn't fit your political ideal? And I find people are really bad about Latin America. They don't know Latin America. They think that Latin Americans care about this stuff, like that they care about the vaccine stuff. In a lot of these countries, some people do, but they're really focused on getting electricity, getting water, getting these basic things met. People in countries like the United States and other countries, you're not as focused on that as much. And so I think it's hard for them when you haven't been to the country to understand that. And it's not like we're saying Lula is some sort of, revolutionary saint that's going to come in and do whatever he's going to do, or that Petro was, or that any of these leaders are. We're just telling you what the priorities of the people in the countries are, and that their priorities are different. And while and the thing is, people were throwing, Bolsonaro is better than Lula because he's taking on the globalists. No, he's not. He literally went to the WEF forum. He literally spoke. He's pro-Israel. You can't tell me you're anti-globalist when you're pro-Israel. Like, And there was just so many other things that, sure, you can criticize Lula for so many things. We talked about Haiti. We literally asked that. That was one of the first questions we addressed when we were in Brazil, because it's one of the things that always comes back at Haiti, and the responses to in Brazil at Lula, and the response is always like, yeah, that was shitty. It's not like people are saying that Lula has amazing policies and stuff, but the fact is he helped a lot of people domestically, and so this is why people are voting for him. It's that simple. It's not about what I want him to be or what pasta or what. It's just a matter of why people vote for him. Now, is there this element in the Bolsonaristas? Yes. Is that why over 50 something million people voted for him only? No. There are other reasons. A lot of it is propaganda. A lot of it is the fact that they called Lula a criminal. Some of them, of course,
we're
are going
talking
to
about
be
Bolsonaro here. Why people
Yeah.
voted for Bolsonaro? Okay, because I'd like to just give my opinion about that too as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first of all, God, fam, thank you for saying all that stuff too as well. I have to give you another one of these. Because you just hit it on the nose. Because a lot of people, somebody said to me the other day, man, wow, you and fam are like really on the same page when it comes to like a lot of this stuff in Latin America and stuff. I said, yeah. I said, but it's not because we're just, the same type of thinking and whatnot. It's when we actually go there and you speak to people and you see what goes on, you get a different perspective. You get a different picture. Even as a gringo who doesn't speak enough of the language, well, fam, I can speak some of the language, but who doesn't speak enough of the language, there's so much you can pick up and you can go, oh, I can see what's going on. And when you say this is not about because Clint Russell was on the morning show yesterday, he goes, Pasta, you probably wanted Lula and whatnot. I'm like, well, no. I wanted the Brazilian people to pick no matter what. I mean, yeah, I love the fact that I'm a election integrity activist and I can say, hey, I don't have to pick a side. I have to pick the side of the people. That's it. Whatever they want, they decide, they make the choice. People like me don't need to be telling them what they need to pick as far as their leaders. I mean, I don't play that game, but it's the goddamn truth. And that's what I see with this whole team sports mentality. The left, as is, they point these things out. And I'm glad you pointed out right off the bat, this is not every Bolsonaro supporter, because it's not. Because coming to why people voted for Bolsonaro, it wasn't about economics now. I haven't seen, listen, I'm still trying to get educated more on it, but from what I see from why people voted for Bolsonaro are two reasons. Number one, he was the best one left on the ballot for, I guess, independent-minded thinking Brazilians who were caught wherever because Lula was jailed. But number two, it was this culture war. It was this conservativeness, this Christianity thing. Like, that's what Bolsonaro was good for, was that. And a lot of people matriculated to that. But at the end of the day, the economics were not there. And it just drives me crazy from the right, because the right is acting like this, fam, the conservatives. Like, how could this be? How could Bolsonaro not win? He had these huge events. Oh, my God, people loved him. He has to be cheated. He was cheated. He has to be cheated. My friend Brett Ernst, who's a comedian, has this joke, fam. And he says, and his whole shtick is, if you've been around anybody who's gay, he's gay, and he's gay for a long time, probably born gay and stuff like that, right? When his brother had to come out, his mother said, okay, he's going to tell us now. He's in the living room. Like, they all knew he was gay, right? Like, and he came out and he was like, listen, guys, I got to tell you something. And they were like, no, really? I didn't know. That's the same attitude it should be with Lula winning this election. Wait, a guy who held the presidency twice, who had great economic booms, who almost removed them from near poverty, from extreme poverty. No, really? He could win? To act like he's like some Joe Biden character, Lula, it just shows you your fucking ignorance of what's going on in Brazil. No shit. A wet paper bag could have got 40% of the vote against Bolsonaro, simply because Brazil is in economic chaos, social disorder. It's going crazy. Fiorella got her phone stolen. Danny Shaw got his phone stolen. Two other people we know, we got his phone stolen. We went to 5 countries in Latin America over the last year, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you easily the one, and I don't want to downplay anybody's homelessness, but going to a bar or club one night, going through their homelessness, it's one of the worst homelessness situations I have ever seen. And I've been in Frisco, LA, everywhere in the States. It is awful. It shouldn't be of any surprise whatsoever, even if your theory is that he was doing good before the fucking COVID came along and that taked everything. It doesn't make a difference. They are in some serious, serious problems. And Bolsonaro really hasn't done anything economically, and not to mention all the labor groups are against him. All the people in the favelas are against him because they want some form of decency back and some social programs that's going to get them food. So you're being ignorant, you're being naive, and you're being misled. Shame on you, Mr. Steve Bannon, with this coverage. Shame on you, InfoWars. And shame on you, Tucker, with that special the other day. If you want to fucking be an election integrity activist, if you believe in national sovereignty, if you believe for it at home, then you better believe it abroad. And this is, excuse me, fam, it's bullshit. Because the whole thing about him getting cheated and it being rigged is so general. Oh, it's DRE machines now. You can program them anyway. Has Bolsonaro been any specific about going and looking at the software? Has he complained about the system up until now? Not that he just won his presidency election against, but he won his elections in Congress with the system before and so many times. Okay, so the way you guys are presenting this, you're falling into the trap. Right now, the left media, I'm telling you right now, you better start talking about the issues with Lula that are there. Whether we like it or not, he's tied to the Western banks. He is tied to the World Economic Forum. He has had situations when he had to send troops to Haiti because of his ties and the deals he made with these groups of people from the West. Now, I'm not saying maybe he could have done it without it because we don't know. How does somebody get the power without dealing with these global entities? I think that's a fair question, right? But you have to mention it. And to gloss over it and act like it doesn't even exist, that sucks. But the conservatives, you are getting in serious areas where you're going to be hypocritical as shit. And when we have serious election fraud issues, they're going to be ignored because you're crying about a situation simply because you didn't like the result. Because what's important to you, the WEF stuff, the vaccine, I get it. But you don't live there. And we should respect who the people picked. And until you have some serious evidence, and I know that's what a lot of leftists have said when it comes to the election. What about 2020? There's no evidence. There's a shit ton of evidence. And that election in 2020 for Donald Trump was way different than Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro has won several elections under this situation. So watch yourselves now. Get your heads out of your ass and accept the results, because unless you get some real proof, Bolsonaro hasn't given you any specifics with the software that he can pull that's open source, with all the things that take place. You need ID, specific place to vote, no mail-in, no ballot harvesting, no drop boxes, public counting. Watch yourselves. You're going to make yourselves look hypocritical, and the work you are doing on election integrity for what happened in 2020 is going to go to waste.
It's already, I mean, even what was done domestically in the United States, Pasta, like the accusations. I mean, talking about the ghost of Hugo Chavez, China. I mean, these things discount, and I think in some ways are on purpose. The parallels between, that they're trying to make between the 2020 U.S. election and the Brazil election, because that way, now that when you talk about an election possibly being manipulated in any way, that you're just crazy. You're just like the Bolsonaristas, Trump supporters. It's all the same. It's not all the same. It's a case by case basis. It's a country by country basis in general. And every single country that we've been to has better elections than the United States of America, hands down, no questions asked. Every single country. Some of the countries ruled by a narco government. Some of the countries ruled by literal paramilitary fascists have better elections than we do. Why? Well, because they have some more security in their elections, and they don't sacrifice their security for the accessibility. Yeah. So that's why. And I've said as much. I did a whole thread on how we shouldn't have vote by mail ballots. How we shouldn't. How this is it's ridiculous. How people laugh in our face when we literally ask if they have vote by mail. Like in every country, because we ask that. Pasta makes sure that he asks that. He makes sure that he has like at least an hour of questions to everyone's, because nobody else pays attention to this stuff as much as we do.
Well, they should.
Pasta's particularly passionate about it.
We are, and because we understand, because we've been in people's faces and eyes, and Colombia was the best, fam. I was in tears in that room, right? Not only what he just said about getting in the streets and defending himself, the magistrate, our friend. But what he was talking about, he says, this will be the most transparent election Colombia's ever had. He understood what was at stake. He understand how the people can get power back. And it's through that process. And, you know, guys, WTF on the Convo Couch YouTube. We'll put the link up of it after. Terry did an amazing job. And that's the thing, like seeing first of all, getting to go to these countries with these social justice warriors of sorts in Latin America, real justice warriors, really highlighting the socioeconomic problems, the military intervention problems. They're amazing about that stuff. But to see to us kind of like interject the process of elections and some people starting to pick up on it, you know, I think that, you know, Terry and Wyatt and stuff, the work we're kind of doing. Terry asked a question yesterday when she was talking to Michael Fox, right? About like the whole, well, Bolsonaro wanted this system again. I was like, yes, this is an awesome question. And Mike went into it, you know what I'm saying, Mike Fox. But Mike Fox could have talked about a little bit more about, well, you know, he says there's no specifics. He could have said, this is an open source system, ladies and gentlemen. Bolsonaro can request the open source system software at any time he wants. He hasn't done it. So I'd like to see a little bit more of those friends on that side, you know what I'm saying? Get a little bit more into the process, because the process, if you fix the process, then you keep control of the country. You keep control of the people. That's the way to freedom, is through this process. At least I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, in a country that has that ability. And that's another thing. It's like, well, this is where the idiot Democrats come in, and they're like, well, we can vote out fascism. Oh, excuse me, not just the idiot Democrats, but the Communist Party, the CCP, the Communist Party USA, communists in name only, literally urging people to vote for Joe Biden the last few years, right? And doing it again now to vote out fascism. You can't vote out fascism in a country where it's too far gone because you don't have fair elections. You can't use that mechanism in the United States because your elections aren't valid, they're controlled. And so that's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. You can't vote your way out of this in the United States. In Latin America, first of all, they also have movements like the MST. They have parallel structures that force the government to do things. People know how to organize there, okay, on the right and on the left. And the social movements, knowing that Lula is milquetoast by comparison to what they want, decided to support him because they said, this is really bad. They're literally killing people in the Amazon. There's mercenaries committing crimes.
Yeah.
And killing these people. Like, this is no joke. And so they're like, yeah, we need to do something about this. All of our land is being privatized. So, you know, the same thing is happening in the United States, that in terms of the land being privatized, in terms of inflation, in terms of 10 cities. But the difference is, in the United States, instead of organizing for that and forcing the government, you have people like the Squad and idiots that are still talking about a red-brown alliance, and you have people like literally focused on social issues without any economic backing. So it's not, it doesn't get you anywhere.
And this whole thought process, really quickly before we bring our guest in, this thought process that, oh, well, you know, the ends justify the means. Lula, you know, with this, the vaccines are coming in. Here come the QR codes. Here comes the WEF. I get it. I understand that. But you can never, ever say the ends justify the means, because those are the same mechanisms they use to cheat you with it. Oh, we can't let fascism get in here. We got to make sure that we can stop Trump from getting in, so we can do whatever we want to not get him in because it's okay. You can never do that.
Right.
At the end of the day, you live here in the United States. I get how you think that it's something very serious, but we have to let the people of Brazil decide, and that's just the way it goes. So let's off. Enough is that. That's
Before we bring in Dan, I just want to show everyone real quick the Cuba. So Cuba is under a blockade, massive sanctions, and more than ever before, 185 people voted against this blockade, voted to end this blockade. This is a big deal. A few years ago, it used to be like two countries. Okay. So more than ever before, 185 nations around the world have called on the U.S. to end its embargo of Cuba. Yet only the U.S. and Israel voted against a resolution, while Ukraine and Brazil abstained. And Brazil is still, of course, under Bolsonaro's government, which is very pro-Israel. You saw his wife go wear her t-shirt. So I mean, this is what's going on, you guys. This is real. It's good. This is great that people are finally responding, and I think we're going to see some changes from here on out. Well, if we don't blow the entire world up first. So
yeah,
let
I get you.